Hello and welcome to the Final Bell, the official Geelong Cats podcast, another finals edition, another very, very exciting finals edition. We are brought to you by Lake Imaging, as we have been all season. And a huge thanks to the team at Lake Imaging, who are celebrating 20 years of radiology services in Victoria. Lake Imaging are proud to be the preferred medical imaging provider of our beloved Cats at the Geelong Football Club. The huge news, of course, was the qualifying final victory over the Pies by 6 points. But there's even bigger news for me and Tom Lonergan. Domsy's here again. Hello, Domsy.
Hello, Lingy. Good to be here.
We have some stories coming back from the Greek Islands / official capacity Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. Not that we're going to talk much about them. Scott Gullan is back in the house. Scotland.
Hello, Cameron.
It is
Hello,
great
Tom.
to
Hello,
see
Scotty.
you.
Wonderful to see you too. In these impressive surrounds, when I was doing this many moons ago, I was shoved in a cold radio box. What's happened? We're in the boardroom.
This is called the Domsy effect, Scotland.
Straight away, you've said, I don't do radio boxes.
Well, it's about having some pulls, Scotty. And I would have thought our man,
The
Skip, one of the great. They've named the Cameron Ling Academy. He could have got us out of the
do you want me to start on
dungeon upstairs.
Don't change the subject, Scotland. It's
Yeah,
not
it's
about
great to be back,
locations here.
Great to be back.
Domsy and I were just talking and only guessing that we're picturing Speedos, coconut oil lathered up, little cocktail in hand. lying
Only
on
you
one of the
could break into
beaches.
my phone, but I won't let you. Yeah.
Mykonos.
Something maybe for after.
It was very pleasant. After working very extremely hard at the Commonwealth Games, where there was an Aussie gold rush, I managed to just have a couple of days in the sun.
Did you take in any footy over there?
I listened to the podcast. That's the only media I took in every week.
Absolutely.
You two talking about the Cats just motoring on. I'd look on Twitter every now and again to see who won, and that was about it. I deliberately kept away.
One thing I've learnt over the years, Domsy, Scott Gullan, one of the great closed books of all time. We will not get a story out of him.
But when the shoe's on the other foot, it'll be just pepper.
Yep.
He
Wow.
peppers the questions like this.
Funnily, you say
fair
that.
enough.
I do bring
The journalist in
something
him.
to the table.
Oh, what do you got?
One of the few times I looked on Instagram, I saw child exploitation, Domsy.
Wow.
Child exploitation in my very eyes. The skipper and his children use his children to get money out of, what is it? Some kicking thing?
Oh, the how
That's
to,
one of
how
the
to play
first
things.
things
I have
saw.
seen this.
That was
yes.
A commercial arrangement. You've got your little kids.
That was recorded about 2 years ago during one of the COVID lockdowns.
I was going, this is one of the first things I've seen when
Yes.
on my return, child exploitation.
Just come
And
prepared,
I
Cameron.
also then saw Guy Pearce and I are quite tight, but you
Right.
fraternising with the Hollywood actor
Yes.
when he was at training, I believe.
I think
He
he was
came
in
down
the
to
studio.
training. Also, he was on K-Rock with us in the morning and just had a good chat.
Blatantly position himself, Andrew Mackey style, who does it at training as we speak. And that's the two things I saw before I came back,
Well,
Domsy.
he's just sort of he's taken our questions, whopped them over the fence, and then he's come back with a
Any
couple of short ones.
responses to those two?
That's what a good journo does. No questions his way, just reverse it back. No response from me, Scotland.
Oh, okay. Nil all draw.
We need a photo in his little dick togs over there. Mykonos, just
Couple of photos.
I've never been a speedo man like you two, so I've maintained
When
the
in Europe,
board
though, you can go the real
No,
European look.
I mean, at least they're all of big girth, so I fitted in there, but no.
G-bang-
No.
G-banger for Scotland.
No.
All right, let's talk some
Okay.
footy. Let's
Yeah, the
talk some.
Cats going all right.
When did you arrive back?
Thursday, so before the first final.
Okay, so you got to see that
and I
incredible first weekend
attended
of
Saturday
footy.
in preparation. I was in the crowd with the punters.
How good was the crowd?
Well, I was in a Collingwood area.
But it's a good crowd.
I was
They make
electric.
So
It
much
was
noise.
It was a great experience, actually, to be honest.
I think the time slot worked for everyone, didn't it?
Yeah.
It wasn't like obviously Geelong people were able to get there, but you didn't seem probably. We played in the 2010 Prelim against Collingwood, which was a night game, 7:50, and that was raucous that night. And I kind of think this 4:35 is probably suitable for
good.
families and people aren't on the Terps too early.
I
and
didn't know beer was that expensive at the football.
You don't normally pay for yours in the little
$12.
suites you sit in.
$12. Oh, dear me. And it's full strength, though. I thought they
Inflation.
went light, but we're back to full. Anyway, that's another observation.
Yeah, over 91,000 at the G. It was a brilliant crowd, a great day. A little nerve-wracking early, Domsey, fair to say. The Pies were the much better team in the first quarter. 8 shots at goal. The Cats looked a little slow, a little almost hesitant to play with that quicker tempo that they've played all year and not biting off that kick that they had been taking throughout the season. And then once they settled into the game, obviously it was a real arm wrestle from there. But early on, were you a touch nervous?
No, probably I wasn't, because that was a finals-like atmosphere, a finals-like game. There was plenty of pressure on. There was obviously plenty of mistakes, which we know happen in big finals. There was a little bit of fumble from both teams, but Collingwood came to play, and we've seen them over the last 15 or so weeks how they pressure teams, and they continue to take on that kick through the middle. That's one thing that they continue to do, is keep taking that kick through the middle. And I think Geelong were able to turn over the ball and able to slingshot it back their way. But you're right, Ling, it was a bit of an arm wrestle early, and I think they settled the ship in the second quarter, though, and they were a lot better from then on.
It did feel like true finals footy, didn't it? I mean, all weekend it did. 4 great games of football. But in that one, Domsey's right. Scotty, there were mistakes galore.
But it was pressure.
And because of the pressure.
It was such a great atmosphere. I agree. I think overall, I think I said to Domsey before, I mean, this was... Geelong will be better as in they'll play with more freedom. For you guys have done it. You play in a tight game that then you feel better for the next one. And luckily they're straight in the prelim. So I thought that was, and Collingwood, because of their intense pressure, if you're like you said, hesitant early, they just go, and they're good. I think they're very good.
Some of the individual performances too were pretty spectacular. Jeremy Cameron, I just thought was simply unbelievable. The way he moves across the ground, but. Huge credit to Gary Rowan. He has been maligned and
I loved his game.
Admittedly, I put my hand up too. In the past, I said, well, hang on, what's he going to produce? He's aware of all of that. Everybody's aware of it. But to block all of that out in a huge game and play that type of game across the whole game, I think, but also that moment, Domsey, that last quarter, stand up, huge grab, and goes back and nails it from outside 50. That's a real credit to him for the resilience to be able to perform like that.
Yeah, it is, and he was fair and squarely in the spotlight after footy classifies it, and obviously Chris went into bat for him, which is fantastic. I think his best is definitely a top 15 player. I know Chris said he wasn't, but his best is certainly a top 15 player in the team, and I think he would have... I think he would have looked at that and goes, you know what, I'm going to show you guys I belong as a top 15 player in this team.
It showed how hard a matchup he is, which is what the coach alluded to. Because he can play tall, take the mark, and his pressures. So who do you play on him? If you've got Cameron Hawkins and then you get to him, that's why he can expose people.
I'm glad you mentioned Tom Hawkins too, because Rowan and Jeremy Cameron, brilliant games. Hawkins he was a bit quieter. He didn't kick his goal, didn't do this. I thought Hawkins' game was massive. He had the best defender on him in Darcy Moore. The way that he engaged him more often than not, where Moore couldn't go and help out on the others, where Hawkins would lead to a part of the ground that was dangerous enough to draw the footy on Moore, but also at times selfless enough to draw them away from where the kick was going. I thought Tom Hawkins' game was as good a so-called quiet game as you get from a key forward.
And once upon a time, Scotty, you shut Hawk down.
The whole thing,
Geelong done. Yeah. They're done. But now, as you mentioned, you've got Jezza, he was awesome. Hawk played his role. Stengel was probably a bit on the quieter side.
Stengel and Close were quietish, but Close still end up with 2.
Yeah. And then you got Gary. Like the forward line, if 1 or 2 guys are down, you've got others to step up, and we clearly saw that on Saturday afternoon.
Now, Cameron, I have another question.
Yes.
When did Zach Guthrie become Corey Enright in my 6-week absence of here? What has happened? I mean, I know he was building and we were joking that he was coming. Did he arrive?
Brilliant game. And
the confidence, though, to play like that, that's the thing.
And that assurance and strength in the contest, in the moment, in everything. And
It's extraordinary.
Again, he's that great example that we talk about where
Keep them on the list, back
some
them
take
in.
the time. If you see something in them, now they've got to have something, whether it's athletic ability, whether it's footy smarts, whether it's a work, all those different elements. You've got to see that, but it just may not have come together yet, so therefore you persist. If they don't have anything and they don't work hard at it, sure, move them on. But if they've got those elements and you are prepared to give them time to grow, you get that sort of performance which has been built over a long period of time. And well done to him. He was brilliant.
Well, it's a credit to the development. I mean, first and foremost, him, of the work he's put in, but it goes back to the development team. The coaches down there, you've got Nigel Lappin who's leading it, Matty Egan there now. The coaches before him, Matty Scarlett, I know, put a lot of work into him. Wow. It's an outstanding achievement. What he's been able to do in a big final to play the way he did, you're right, Scotty, he's come a long way.
And I thought Ginnivan flopped. I mean, he marked that ball, Zach. I thought you're allowed to have that sort of elevate your hands in that famous moment where the Collingwood people completely lost their minds around me.
Yeah, I thought there was contact. I thought it was very, very much accentuated, partly because of the speed Ginnivan was moving at. That's not one I had a problem with. I tend to agree a little with Craig McRae. Well, you got a touch on the lucky side with some holding the ball calls later in the game, but that is football. And I think the umpires had demonstrated throughout the game.
The Mitch Duncan one, I don't think he really had the ball, did he, when he was getting tackled?
Do
you reckon he had control of it?
Well, I would have paid that as holding the ball.
I think he was juggling enough to get away with it.
I thought he was in possession, tried to still take on, and he didn't dispose of it. Anyway, what I think the umpires saw, or we saw from the umpires, over the whole weekend, they're going to umpire it with a little bit more let it go.
Well, you've played in these big games, you two. That happens.
Yeah.
You guys know that. Particularly later in the game of big finals. It's like you're not going to get a free kick, do you?
Yeah. Hey, Tommy Atkins.
Huge. How clean was he early when others were fumbling? He was just...
Can I make another observation, which leads into Tommy? Patrick Dangerfield on the bench at the start of every quarter because of Tom Atkins, clearly. And the matchups are in the middle, but how good is he?
Well, I think what he does, and we've spoken about Tommy at length throughout over the last sort of 7 or 8 weeks, but he gives a really good balance in the midfield. I think that's something Geelong's probably lacked at times. It's been probably one-way skis at different times. They're good when it's on their terms of going forward, but he gives that real grunt and aggression. He's happy to transition and defend when he needs to. But his clearance work, Lee, I mean, you're a midfielder. On a big stage like that, to deliver a performance in the last quarter when the game's on the line. You go to war with that type of player.
And his contested ball craft and his stoppage craft is elite. He's turning the body at the right time, the protection of the ball, but still being on the move enough to effectively get away from a would-be tackler. His last quarter was a monster, and we've seen him do it a few times now. Going way back mid-season, Scotty, I think as we discuss the progression of this team, I think they're good. They've got this really good forward line. They've got this really solid defence. We did have a little circle around the middle of the ground. Yeah. We said, is it deep enough? Is it truly deep enough to take them to the very, very top? The Atkins addition there and the Max Holmes improvements.
My man. Has anyone else claimed he sits on?
You'll notice that he claims every player he possibly can.
I'm best friends with his mum, so that gets me in. How good? Yeah.
His outside run, but he wins it inside as well, but his outside run is crucial to that middle of the ground. So that Atkins-Holmes combo to that midfield makes it an excellent midfield now.
Well, when Brandon Parfitt and Sam Menegola can't get a game, because again, I've been away and I come back and go, hang on, they can't even get a game. Mark O'Connor then came in, but you're so right. It's just a different look, and it's proved. And Blitzavs can play. They want a bigger body in there. Yep. How good was DeGoey, though? Oh, my Lord.
They were very good.
He's finally...
Pay him every cent.
Every
cent. Every cent.
Okay, he still needs to demonstrate an ability to be a professional off the field.
No, he won't.
Freedom.
He'll stuff that.
No, well, because his on-field this year has been brilliant. He's playing great footy. Okay, so don't get me wrong on that. But if you're going to
without him, they're not who they are.
If you're going to pay him $1 million a year, whatever,
I don't want $1 million.
$800,000 a year. If you're going to pay that, then he's still got to act like a professional off the field. I love the step he's taken with his footy this year.
Don't let him go to Bali mid-season. I've got another rant.
Yes.
7-year contracts. Tim Taranto is leaving GWS for Richmond, right? Nice player, 24 or something. You can't tell me at 31 he's going to be humming and deserving. I know I'm ranting.
No,
this is
but they're trying to maximise a window.
I know, but 7 years.
It's the market.
What's the longest contract you got, Dobbsy?
Well, I thought 3 was long.
Did you hear what the media rights deal was?
I know. Well,
7 years. That might be peanuts that Toronto's getting paid
I just
in his
think
7th year.
the length of
He'd have
contract.
clauses in there, Lingy. He would have clauses.
Oh, yes, it always bumps up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, very good. Hey, actually, speaking of someone who would know all about the TV rights deal, everything the AFL does, is clearly doing a wonderful job here at Geelong, is the CEO, Steve Hocking, is going to join us a little bit later on in the podcast to talk, well, just the joy of finals.
Well, and
his journey.
he created this
You know
great
what?
football.
Hock, you got to give him his due credits for what he's done at the AFL. We'll talk about what he's done here, but the 666 rule, the stand rule, the kick-out rule, Scotty, I know you've got opinion on those things, but it's worked. I know your man at Channel 7, Matty Richardson, hated the stand rule, hated it.
It's worked.
You've got to say, the way the ball moves now, and this year has been a great year of footy.
All right, can you do one thing for me, though, with the kick-out rule?
Yeah.
When somebody just picks up the ball...
No stat?
And they just wander two
out,
steps outside the box. Oh, no, there's a kick for you.
Well, that's like
You've done nothing to deserve
It's making my 11 average possessions over my career look pretty dismal now.
Our good friend, the Irishman, he enjoys taking one step out, then assessing.
One of the best at Mitch Duncan, very good at it as well. 2 steps outside the square, you count it. Why would you ever kick it from inside the square?
I love it. Yeah, no need to.
No, just get rid of that one, Domsy, and I'll agree with you on absolutely everything else. Hey, I'm going to get to some fan questions soon too, and as I said, Steve Hocking coming up a little bit later on. A couple of things to just pump through really quickly. You mentioned it before, Scotty. Brandon Parfitt, Sam Menegola, both missed out. Mark O'Connor as the Medi sub was used early on in the game, obviously with Jake Kolajasny coming out. Hopefully Collar's all good, and with the extra week off, should be okay.
The scans have come back positive.
Do you want to read Harry's explanation? I always
yes.
like Harold's explanation.
Come on,
you do that,
us. No.
Domsy. I don't understand what he says.
Yeah, can we get a translation here, please, Troy? We have had positive news with subsequent scans showing a tibiofibular joint injury that the medical and conditioning team will treat and manage accordingly. Head of Medical and Conditioning Services, Harry Taylor says. So, translate that.
So he's got a leg. Has he got a cork thigh or something? What's he got wrong?
The tibiofibula, you know, where your
That's
lower leg.
Oh, lower leg.
Yeah, tibia and fibula are in
Okay.
your lower leg.
I love
Scotland,
Harold.
you should have concentrated in anatomy class,
No, I was focused on other things.
other parts of the anatomy.
Say if he
It
doesn't
says a
come
joint
up.
injury. It's not a joint. Is it a joint fracture? Is it a joint bruise? Is it a bruise?
Yeah, what is
Come
it?
on, you don't need to give all the information.
Yeah, I know. He's,
Well,
he's
Harry's
been very
learning.
careful.
He's-
He's been, yeah.
So what do we do? You know, I love a team discussion. We'll do it again next week, but give me a little. I couldn't, you know.
No change.
Oh, what if he's crook?
Oh, well, if he's crook, of course you have to bring O'Connor in for him. I
Okay.
think it's a reasonable like for like, not quite perfect, but
It's hard to
O'Connor
find a
has
spot
flexibility.
for Parfit.
Parfitt's one. Now, I still think he has a role to play in something.
Cool. I hope he's on a 10-year deal. He's going to be a gun.
He's a gun. He almost got injured at the wrong time
Yeah.
and was
Oh, that
unable to put
happens.
a body of work together
Yeah.
to show I'm in the best. But if something was wrong with Collar for the prelim, tibiofibular joint, and Mark O'Connor came in, Parfitt's a pretty exceptional sub.
Oh, no, absolutely. That's the obvious.
Just on that quickly, is there a train of thought? I know we've spoken a little bit about Sav Radagulair. I mean, if Geelong are able to, well, they're going to face either Brisbane or Melbourne, which we know.
Yep.
So Brisbane have got Danaher, Hipwood, McStay,
Yep.
3 reasonably big keys. Melbourne, not so much. They've got Brown. Tom
Jackson.
McDonald probably comes back
Gorn
in.
started there, which was odd.
Gorn's there. And then if we are to make it through the prelim, then you go and potentially face the Sydney Swans with Franklin, Reid,
Logan
Logan McDonald. So another 3 big tools. One thing I watched on the weekend is that Collingwood they lacked a genuine key forward.
Well, that's
And
why
I just-
Henry started forward, didn't he? That didn't last too long.
Yeah, my question is, I wonder, you know, if Kolajasny isn't right, does Sav come into the equation
Do
at
they
all?
go taller again?
Taller to
So Henry
combat.
plays tall. You don't want to put Blitzarves down there anymore, obviously.
No.
So it'd be SDK, Jack Henry, Stewart plays tall enough.
You'd want him as your...
Yeah.
He
was
does his own
interesting.
thing, Stewie, doesn't he?
Yeah.
The start of the game, Henry forward, and then Tui was on the wing, and then it all shuffled back.
Yeah.
It's very impressive what they can do now,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
team.
Worth a thought. The good thing about this podcast is we don't have to drop anyone. We just keep throwing names.
We
up
regularly
there.
play 24 players.
We're going to take a break in a second. Of course, the other great news that just continues while the Cats are in a prelim final. The AFLW have
they're
started
killing it.
2-0. Thank you very much.
Killing
they kept
it.
Freo to only a point.
And they're historically been a very solid
Yes.
team, the Dockers.
And this week looking to inflict some more pain on Collingwood. Hopefully beat
Oh,
the
they're
Pies.
pretty
I
good.
tell you what was good, Ling, the vision on the girls on the bus after they finished it on the
Yes.
way back to the airport.
I haven't seen it. What was
And
it?
they were
Oh,
watching
no.
the last 2 minutes of the game, and they got all very excited. That was good vision. Good
I'm
vision.
watching the last 2 minutes of
The
the
men.
Cats
game,
Pies.
yes,
Oh,
at the G.
brilliant.
Yes, yeah, yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah.
So it's a very, very good time, a nice buzz around the club. Let's take a break and get to your questions in just a second. Welcome back. It is fantastic to have you with us on to the Final Bell Finals edition. We've played the qualifying final. It's heading into semi-final weekend, but it is a magnificent feeling knowing that the Cats have the weekend off and already safe and sound in the prelim final, awaiting either Melbourne or Brisbane on a Friday night at the MCG. Now, you'll notice just here, we're about to do the questions. We've had to juggle a little bit. Steve Hocking, the CEO, came in, had a good chat with us. You're going to hear that next. We had to fit that around his commitments. He's very, very busy this week. Plenty going on, as you could well expect. So we've just recorded that. Tom Lonergan has had to go. So Domsy's headed off. He's regional manager or GM or whatever it's called of the Geelong Falcons, and does a brilliant program there with the boys and the girls programs. Meets with recruiters, does a lot. He's running a really terrific program at the Geelong Falcons, so he's had to duck out for a recruiting meeting. Part of his role, regularly catching up and talking about the new talent coming through the Geelong Falcons in the men's and the women's program and who might be able to step up to AFL level. So now it's time to get to your questions, which means it's back to the old duo of Scotty and myself.
I never go anywhere.
I've got 25 questions just from our listeners about the Greek Islands, but I'll try and stick
What can
to
I say?
footy.
Hot beers. Yeah, sorry. Yep.
What beer do they drink over there, Greek?
How
or were you
bad's
just
that?
drinking the straight, like Heinekens? Or
No.
something like that?
I was with the. See, how bad's that? I can't even remember. Hang on.
Oh, was that much fun, was it?
I'll call up a picture.
It's not like
You keep talking.
Bintang in Bali or
No,
Singer
no,
in
it's-
Thailand or Singapore or whatever it is. Probably
no.
Singer would be Singapore, I'd imagine. As I
Better be
just said that.
careful what I pull up here. Yep.
Okay. We love the fact that our listeners send our questions in. You can answer that beer one in just a second, Scotty. This one's from Jarvie or Harvey. Hopefully I pronounce that one right. Apologies if I do get some of the names wrong. Do you think Jeremy Cameron is the best player in the league currently?
David
Harvey?
King does. He's driving that bus.
Is Jeremy Cameron the best player in the league? Right now, in the teams remaining, so we've got 6 left.
Look, he's in
Lock-
the top 3.
Yeah, he's in the top 3 clearly. I think for importance, for flexibility, for presence, I would say yes is my answer. Lachie Neale's performance on Thursday night was
Single-handedly won that
simply
game.
unbelievable, wasn't it? Dominant, 15 clearances, 39 disposals, was superb. Shea Bolton is another one who could put his hand up, but they're now out. Clayton Oliver
Oliver and
very
Petrarca are
good.
pretty solid.
Yep. Who else am I missing?
Sydney have got.
Oh, Luke Parker was unbelievable.
No,
I know he's not in
come
that.
on, no.
I'm not putting him top 3.
Please.
But Luke Parker's performance on Friday
Very
night
good.
was brilliant.
No, Jez has got to be in the top 2 now. I've reduced it to 2.
Caleb Sarong. He tore apart
I don't think
your
we're talking about
Bulldogs.
that game, are
He
we?
destroyed your
I
Bulldogs.
watched the first quarter.
Marcus Bontempelli owned the game for the first
Correct.
quarter and a bit.
Didn't touch it up.
And then Caleb Sarong and Andrew Brayshaw. But Sarong just announced himself again.
I'm not sure Footscray took a mark in the second half. Anyway, this is all about the Cats.
Got to enjoy occasional dig at you, Scotland. It's good to have you back.
It's
really
great
is.
to be here.
Adam. Adam says, I saw Lingy outside the ground after the game. He high-fived my dad. Is this the best atmosphere ever?
Oh, you are a fanboy, aren't you?
Yes,
You get a bit giggly and cuddly. And
I tell you what, you want to know something that was really, really, really fun, but also kind of nice for the ego? You get outside the ground, on that concourse outside the ground at the MCG, and everybody's heading in every direction. There were tens of thousands of people. Every Cats fan had the biggest smiles on their faces.
Correct.
I'm with my 3 kids, and every person we walked past was, "Hey, Lingy, how good's that? Go Cats!" I high-fived about 150 people. My 3 kids are just looking up at me. I'm like,
this is sickening.
right now, Dad's all right, isn't he?
This is making me sick.
When Dad tells you to tidy your room or go to bed,
when Dad tells you to be in an ad to make money, you do it.
I'm like, next time Dad asks you to do something, do it, because Dad's kind of cool every now and then.
Oh, that's outstanding.
It didn't help. It was an amazing atmosphere.
It was good. I was so glad I went in the crowd because normally I don't get that opportunity.
I was reminiscing with my dad only yesterday, dropped round for a coffee at my house, and I said, Dad, I still remember the 1994 prelim final. We were about 10 rows back behind the forward, the point post in the forward pocket where lead shooter kicked the ball across. When Ablett marked the ball and kicked it, we were jumping on our seats. We were hugging each other. We were hugging people we didn't know. The walk back to the car ride back to Geelong, scarves out the window, beeping. I remember that now and still get goosebumps.
And your boys will remember?
My boys, especially my 9-year-old and 8-year-old. Jetty might be a little young at 5, but he was jumping up and down still. He was just getting caught up, I think, with what his brothers were doing. That's the sort of thing they'll be telling their kids about. They were at that game. It was fantastic. Loved it. Anyway, I'm pumped now, Scott.
Oh, no. Feelings.
Richard, why was Selwood and Dangerfield on the bench to start every quarter? Was this to rest them to bring it home?
No, I don't think they were
Well, Richard.
Explain the Dangerfield thing to me.
Okay, but the bench is not quite the same as what it used to be.
No.
That you're on there for 4 minutes.
I put Selwood to one side because he's done it all year and I know why, and it's working, as we saw. That was extraordinary. It doesn't work for Patrick, it seemed. He didn't have the impact I would have thought.
No, but
matchups for the opening bounce was the reason.
Hang on. This is the magic of this team, Scotty.
I know.
This is why I've been so excited about them for most of the year. It doesn't require a Patrick Dangerfield Herculean performance. It doesn't require a 6-goal bag from Tom Hawkins to win finals and win the premiership. Just play that. What it requires of them is to play a really good, solid game, which is exactly what Hawk did,
to our
exactly
listeners
what
why they
Dangerfield
did it.
did.
First off, Atkins, Blitzar's in the centre square at the bounce, wasn't it, for the bigger body on DeGoey?
I think so.
So I'm just saying, horses for courses, though. Will it happen next week?
No, not
Maybe
necessarily.
not. Yeah.
Maybe. If it's Melbourne and it's Oliver Petrarca-Viney starting in the first bounce, well, what do? Do you say, okay, Dangerfield's not a small body, so you've got a big body in there. Do we go slightly defensive for a few early ball ups just to stop any surge from them? Do we just attack them all out?
But then to go every quarter and keep that sort
know.
of lineup, I mean, that's an adjustment for a champion like Patrick Dangerfield. So put yourself in his shoes. He has to embrace.
Yes, and I think honestly he has all year, and even the embracing of that 5-week rest, or not rest, but recuperation of his leg, and that's all. That's a new way of thinking for him, but it's also a good, strong new way of thinking for the coaching group. I love it.
I love it.
It's a philosophy and a mindset that is why they could win a premiership, and we're all hoping that they will win a premiership. Tom poses this one, Scotland. After the most brutal contested final, how do the boys soothe their sore muscles and wind down?
Well, they used to go to not the Lyric.
The Lyric.
What's your place called?
You are showing your age with the Lyric, Scotland.
What's your place called?
Lammy's.
Lammy's. You'd be there straight after that game.
Not in finals, we won't.
You might have. We had been a bit overexcited about that one.
No, we had a rule about 6 weeks out to go in the season. No more going out. Public.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
You can have a couple of beers at home over dinner if that's the way you want to do it. But honestly, how would they soothe it? This week would have been
They had a weekend off.
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday they might have had the weekend off, and that's a real mental breather, but they would have had a really clear recovery program. So whether it's beach, and players would have, even though they had time off, would have still been in at the club doing the hot colds. They would have done individual recovery sessions. They would have done individual maybe walking and jogging, that their fitness. So it would have had a massive emphasis on recover, because we can take out time a little bit more to build back up to those bigger training sessions. I'm imagining, and I'm only guessing this, that they'll have a bigger hit out on Friday this week, ahead of then allowing a 7-day break between that Friday to the actual prelim final Friday. But getting that body going again, very, very important. Dill asks, why does Geelong not link arms during the anthem? Because we never have linked arms, Dill.
Well, ever since the Adelaide Crows.
No, way
Ridiculous.
before that.
I'm not.
Never with my teams.
Was it thrown up? And you said, that's not.
We stood there. It wasn't, we weren't trying to send messages to the other team across the way. It was stand there, acknowledge and enjoy the anthem, take it in the atmosphere and really show respect to the national anthem, and then get on and play. And it was funny, Chris Scott, when he first started in 2011, I remember him telling me after the grand final, he said, I wasn't sure how you guys line up when we got to the first qualifying final, but I got there and I loved the fact that you guys weren't doing that linking arms thing. He goes, you just did your own thing, and some sang with the anthem. I used to like singing along. Some didn't. And he said you were just there and ready in the moment to go. So I think that's just continued on. Joel doesn't go getting the boys together because we never have. So, Dill, that's as simply as I can answer that one. Warren, where does Bill Brownless's after the siren goal rank in all times Cats finals moments?
It was against Footscray.
Timely question from Warren, though, and I didn't realise this because, when you're a kid, you're so caught up in what your team is doing. So I watched the Billy Brownless goal. I was loving the Cats beat Footscray, happiness. But this first weekend of finals, as the greatest first weekend of finals ever, has only been compared to that 1994 first weekend of finals.
Really?
And the reason being, and I wasn't
week?
aware of this, and I should have done more research to give an accurate thing here, but there was the Brownless after the siren goal. Mm-hmm. There was a draw with extra time on that weekend. There was another few point victory to someone, and then there was the other game was maybe a 22-point margin. But that was the other one that all the commentators were referencing as the 1994 was the other first weekend of finals footy. You wouldn't have cared because the Doggies lost.
The Doggies lost. I mean, that is a great moment, and it will continue. And I'm glad Billy had a great moment. He deserved it for his career.
He did. That was the best final series I ever, as a kid. 89 was the best ever.
2016 was a great final series.
That was remarkable.
Correct.
About 10 minutes into the second quarter on Saturday night too, I thought the Dogs might have gone to Perth, had a win.
What's the next question?
And got on a little run there.
There's more questions.
No, that's the end of the
that's
questions.
it, okay.
So the only remaining questions are either going to be about the Greek Islands and what you got up to.
No comment.
Or questions about the Bulldogs.
No comment.
So you'd like me to move on and take a break?
Yeah, I think Steve Hocking's
and now
showing interest in
tease the fact that we've already spoken to Steve Hocking, but we're now about to speak to Steve Hocking.
You're now a shock jock. Do that pretend stuff.
Let's do that. The CEO of the Cats coming up next. Welcome back. It is great to have you with us on to the final bell, brought to you by Lake Imaging. As promised, we do have the CEO of the Cats, Steve Hocking, joining us. Hock, great to see you.
Thanks, Lingy. Yeah, good to be here. Thanks for the invite.
It's a great time of the year to be here. We're sitting up in the boardroom recording this on a Wednesday. The players are training, the sun's shining. It's certainly got that magical finals feel about it.
It does, and we've got Frank Costa looking over us as well, haven't we? Yeah, the Frank Costa boardroom. So, no, really nice to be part of this, and obviously, really great to be still part of the final series.
There is something magic when a game occurs like it did on the weekend, 91,000, and the result goes the right way, and you get that thriller. The buzz and the energy around the town, around the place is really electric. But the players have almost got to stay calm, don't they? Because they've got a long build-up now to a prelim final, and they'll go through their paces and do all that. How do you, as CEO and everything, I suppose, going around the periphery of it, keep it slightly sheltered from the players, or is it just get involved and embrace everything?
Well, look, within my role as CEO, I have no influence at all, to be quite honest. As CEOs, we like to think we do, but the reality is we don't. No, what we've tried to do is we've really tried, one of the shifts that hopefully has been recognised across the club in my role as CEO is to embrace a lot of this. It's these are pretty special moments that you get to be involved in, and so yes, there's the performance element, but this is a little window this week whereby you can reflect on the game. This is their first real training session today after playing Saturday. They've done some light work earlier in the week, but just individually. So they've come back as a collective today, and they'll build across. Certainly Friday will be a big session as well. But it is an opportunity just to go, okay, we've knocked that one over, and we've got work ahead of us. But let's enjoy the sunshine that's out there, enjoy what we've achieved. And Chris has been really strong on that. Post-game Saturday night, it's like, let's just reflect on this because this is a pretty significant moment for us.
Just a quick one on the game, Hock. I mean, your predecessor, or Cookie, was a well-known nervous watcher. You knew that. He'd be up and in the toilet hiding somewhere. Are you a much more calm watcher?
Yes, definitely, yeah. I think my role, and you just got to be true to yourself, and for me, it's more about making sure that I'm calming. A calming influence is how I like to reverence it.
Even on Saturday, you keep things compared to others around you, no doubt losing them.
I think Scott, like you look at that game, and we all love football, and I just thought it was just an incredible game of football, and so you're sort of sitting there riding absolutely all the emotion, but you're also just marvelling at what's going on and what's unfolding in front of you. With 91,500 people there, as Ling has said, and really strong Geelong contingent. A lot of our time was spent around making sure that it looked blue and white inside the seating bowl, and then also around the actual stadium as well. We went really big to make sure that our people felt that it was actually our game, and they were connected to that, and everyone showed up and supported the team. And so my role in all of that's just to stay as calm as possible. No point in me losing my head.
Hock, we were talking off air, and you mentioned there about how good the finals have been and the whole year in general. And I think we'll just talk about your previous role as the footy manager at the AFL and some of the rules or rule changes that were implemented during your time, the 666 stand rule, the kick out. I think there was up to 9 changes all up. When you were working through that process, did you have an idea of what you wanted the game to look like? And did you ever imagine that you'd get a year of football like this when you're working through that?
Yeah, it's thanks for the question, Dom's. It's I look back on it, and going into the role, I was fortunate to play through the 80s and 90s, and I think that was a pretty amazing time to play football. You have a look at some of the players from that time, and they were just quite incredible. But if I was going to reference a game, I think Thursday night opening game up at the Gabba was really what we actually had in mind. I certainly personally had that type of game. I played under Malcolm Blight. Most people saw me as a tagger. Malcolm showed up and said, "You're not tagging anymore. You've got to attack the game." And I really didn't know how to do that. But I supported people like Ken Hinkley and many others to play with that real flamboyance. And so look, I was the 12-year-old kid that was writing to Bruce Doole, admiring Bruce for how he played, and writing to Alex Jesaulenko, admiring how he played. Now, I couldn't be either of those players, but if I was closest to anyone, it was the way Bruce played. But I loved what Jezza brought to the game as well. And so to get that opportunity to go into AFL House and be part of just trying to adjust the game and reset it. It had got sort of wrapped in so many layers, and it just happens over time. And coaches are really keen to take risk out of the game, and what we designed and created was ways of putting risk back into the game. And you don't get 91,500 people showing up if they know the result. And it's just not. I don't think that's what live sport is. And we certainly, Gil was really strong on that. It was one of the reasons why he appointed me to the role, was he felt like I had the courage to stare into that. And I very quickly got David Rath from under the nose of Alistair Clarkson, and he was his right-hand man, and then James Podsiadly and Damien Farrow from Victoria University, and there was an innovation team that we set up. And the two of you know me really well. I like to collaborate, and so we just got to work. And it's the best 4 years that I've had in any role that I've ever held.
Yeah. You like to collaborate. You also like to make some change. Before taking on the role here at the footy club, what did you identify as, whether it be in the football department or the broader football club, that needed to change to take us to another level and get the club really humming, and what were some of the things that you thought were needed change there?
Yeah, look, I think coming in, I obviously started back in October last year. I was actually once I was signed to come back here. I was sent on gardening leave by the AFL, and then COVID hit, and so I didn't get to do too much apart from sort of roll around on a bike about 5 kilometre sort of radius through that period. But it gave me a bit of time to think about things, and I think the thing that I reflect on is that my view sitting from afar, and I was from afar because I needed to be. I certainly. I think people, there's been commentary around the rules have been changed to suit Geelong, but if you have a look at the way Melbourne played, Melbourne embraced it last year, and there's plenty of sides that have done that. The thing that I looked at was I think we probably got a bit stuck in the now, and I'm a believer that you can actually have both parts. You need to challenge now, but you also need to be thinking about your future. And I think that's probably the one adjustment that I certainly pushed through and have been pretty strong on.
Yep.
Yeah.
So do you, with that, just more for our listeners, the understanding on how that works practically day to day, Chris Scott, his coaching team is out there right now preparing a team for a massive prelim final. Even week to week during the season, he's preparing that team to win that game. Somewhere else in the building, are you sitting with the Andrew Mackey, Stephen Wells list management team thinking, okay, so Chris Scott's got that sorted, and Simon Lloyd and his crew, here's what a team can look like in 2024, 5, 6, 7, and big elements of the team that is running around on the Saturday will be part of that.
Yeah.
But where do we go looking for other things? So that real clean, that group's locked in on Saturday.
Yeah.
This group's over here looking at the future.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Is in our roles. I've got to skim across the top of a range of different things, and so I'm part of a list management team, and the senior coach Chris is part of that, along with Andrew Mackey and Stephen Wells and Simon Lloyd, and so you make sure in that. It's not on my terms. It's just making sure that you influence it in the right way, and again, collaborate with people. It shouldn't be one person that is deciding that. It's actually a collective decision-making framework, and I can overlay that on membership as well. We've got amazing members that are committed to the club. You have a look at the 2 years whereby we were impacted by COVID. And they got no return at all apart from, just committing their money to the club. And so, I've got an eye on making sure that our, 70-plus-year-old members are looked after, but also, anyone from 0 to 7 years of age as well, and everyone in between that. And so that's, you can do that with your sponsors. So that influence, I think, is really important within my role to make sure that we are not just thinking about today, we're actually thinking about the future, because the club goes on well beyond any of us that are sitting here currently. I mean, you're two younger men, and no doubt at some stage you'll find your way, back into the football club in some capacity, and it's got to be full of richness and opportunity, and that's my job whilst I'm in the seat.
Your heart must be warmed in that you had the hard conversations when you came in, and the fans and the members, they've got to change the way they play. We all heard it. Yet it's evolved, and we've all seen what they've done. You must be pretty proud of the coaching staff and the players for what we're seeing now compared, 12 months ago.
Yeah, I think, Scott, the thing that's probably lost in a lot of it because it was so long ago, you get a window of October, November to make the adjustments you need to make to your program, and then that really underpins what your pre-season looks like. And we made 16 changes in the football department of roughly about 33.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's half.
And I think that's lost at times. And you only are able to achieve that through openness and the ability for people to recognise that there does need to be some shift, and there needs to be a freshness that is brought into the place around ideas and contribution as well. And Chris and Simon Lloyd were just fantastic on that front. They were so open to that, and particularly Chris. Like, Chris has been here over 10 years now.
Yeah.
And so for him, it was he embraced it as much as anyone, which then just enabled me to sort of get out of the way and let them get to work as to who they wanted to bring in, and it's a credit to them, the fact that they've landed, not only identified, recognised that change was required, and then implementation. Yeah. And then making sure that everyone's working together, like that's on them. Yeah.
That freshness and those changes are certainly producing some great results. It's a really exciting time. We've got to let you go because you've got a million things on at the moment. I said the training's happening right now. There's a number of wonderful supporters who are here who you can have a chat to. Before you go, though, just some practical things.
Yes.
Obviously this week's a big training week, but tickets for Prelim final, which is now locked in as the Friday night 7:50 against the winner of Melbourne and Brisbane, go on sale Sunday. Is that correct?
So, all that notification will happen Sunday. Our team, our membership team are all over it. There's a ballot going on today as we're speaking here.
Yes.
So a lot of the comms will be leading into all of that. Our team are ahead of it all, Lingy. Yeah. And
as Domsy mentioned, amazing crowd on the weekend, just gone over 91,000 people. This is a Friday night game, 7:50. Sometimes can be slightly difficult for Cats fans to get up there, but we saw on Saturday the difference of a huge Geelong contingent in the crowd and the difference it can make sometimes to a result of a very, very close game. It'd be great to see the Cats fans up there on that prelim.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, just pile in and get as many tickets as you can. To touch on that, for that qualifying final, I think previously we'd sold a number of about 10,000 back in 2010 versus Collingwood. We sold 13,500. And that's another record for the club. We've set a lot of, there's been a membership record this year. There's been merchandise records across certain months through the year. Attendance sort of record on the weekend and throughout the year as well. So let's just keep it going, get as many Cats members, fans there as we possibly can.
Righto, everyone listening to that. Carpool, take the ferry up, take the buses up, take the trains up.
V-line will work.
Jump on V-line. No track maintenance, please, V-line on that game. Enjoy the week off, Hock, even though I'm sure it will not be a week off at all as far as your work goes. But heading into the prelim, good luck, enjoy it. Hopefully we do get a heap of Cats fans there to cheer the team on. But thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for the support, guys.
It was fantastic to have Steve Hocking, the CEO of the Cats, in and joining us today for a quick chat. We loved your questions. Keep them coming in over the weekend off with no footy on from the Cats' perspective or the men's perspective. Obviously, there's AFLW taking on the Pies this week. if you've got time, flick a few our way, and we'll get to them next week. Big thanks to Tommy Lonergan for joining us again. Domsy's run off to his all-important recruiting meeting. Scotty Gullan joined us. Great to have you back from Birmingham. I'll say the professional part, not the Greek islands bit.
Birmingham
and Turkey, Istanbul.
Yeah, very nice place.
Nice
Cameron.
place.
Worth a look.
Worth a trip, okay. Oh, there's that glint in that eye that I want to ask more questions, but I won't.
Nothing.
I'll hold on
I'm
to
a
them.
player. I'm pretending like you did for 15 years of your career. Don't answer questions.
Enjoy semi-final weekend. Enjoy the AFLW. We will be back next week as we build up to a monster prelim final on Friday night against either the Demons or the Lions. Make sure when those tickets go on sale on Sunday, buy. Steve Hocking wants plenty of Cats fans there. We all want plenty of Cats fans there to cheer the boys on, hopefully towards a grand final. But we'll be back again next week. All the best.